there's a powerful lesson there. One, I thought you were gonna say something completely different when you were telling that story about what the manager said on the phone. I thought, that was gonna be, a moment where, he spoke to, the needs and why it makes sense for their family and that they saw the value. But wow, that is, man, that is just,
yeah,
just, that's
it
just
exists. What can I tell you?
awful.
It
Yeah,
exists.
and yes, it does. And those types of things can definitely affect, the perception of the industry. And look, for those that are listening, I think, when Phyllis is talking about this, hey, look, when you first get into the industry, it may not work out with the first company that you get with. It really is all about, the people that you're around and what your objective and your mission is. So at what point did you feel like, you started to hit your stride? Because, I know that you had quite a bit of success even before coming to the East Coast.
So I got into the supplemental space in Los Angeles. So not rocket science, pretty simple, concepts. And I believed in it. It was an old boys network that I was working for. They made me a district manager. I was only female district manager. Had to fight through a number of interesting situations. But I learned every role because I felt that if I'm going to train people, I have to know what those roles are. Yeah. And so, yeah, I did have quite a bit of success there. Unfortunately, my mother had gotten very, very ill. She had Parkinson's for about 4.5 years, and she ended up coming to live with me the last 3 months of her life. And I had to put my life on hold to take care of her, which I was honored to do. And, and she passed away in my home. But then I got remarried. And about 8 months later, we had a bi-coastal marriage for about 8 months. And then I bit the bullet and said, well, I'm not getting any younger. So I moved here. And I remember we cross country. I sold, gave away, threw away, whatever, except for, my clothes, my kitchen stuff, stuff that, meant something to me. I gave away a big library, but, those special books I kept. And
it was across the country. So,
yeah, cross country, got here January 5th, 2015. There was snow all over the place. I had no idea where I was. And I took my husband to work and oh, thank God for Waze. And and all of a sudden I look up and there's Target. And I went, oh, thank God. I'm still in America. There's Target. So I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. But yeah, so that was even a journey here, because that company was, that I knew I kind of transferred to and did not have a good experience. It was the people. It wasn't the company. Yeah. And anyway, kept struggling, kept going, just didn't quit. And that would be my biggest message for everyone. Yeah. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
It's skills that you have to learn. It's a new language you have to learn. There are concepts that are foreign to you because we're not taught in school. Mm-hmm. And even after I got my license, I didn't know. I didn't even know what I didn't even know. I didn't even know the questions to ask, So I feel like where I am right now and teaching people how money works, very simple, very, concepts that have been put into a very light way of understanding. And well, you've read the book and it's a great book and it's not threatening and it's not like one of these big technical things like, oh my God, it's so boring. No, it's really it's a really user-friendly, reader-friendly book. Yes. And our classes are fun and people are walking away with like, wow, I never knew that, Yeah. And that's the whole goal. I wish I would have known these things, years ago. I wouldn't have made the mistakes that I made.
Yeah, like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Sometimes you don't know that what you don't know is even out there, like that it even exists. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Until something comes along, you're like, Oh, okay, okay.
Right, right.
Here's a question for you. How do you, considering what you know now versus what you know then, how is your life different having your insurance license, working in this space versus prior to that?
Well, first of all, I don't have a job that I have to go to.
Right.
I don't have to show up anywhere. I mean, here I am at my dining room table that I show up to when I feel like, but actually I get up very early. And I hit it. I have my little routine, like I take a shower, I put my makeup on, I get dressed. Even through COVID, I've always gotten dressed. I've never just been in sweats. I just felt like if I'm going to be on Zoom, I have to show that I'm professional. And that's very important to me. So my time is my own. I mean, sometimes I'll just work too much, until like I better stop because I'm so exhausted, But I think, when you have a job and you're working for someone else's destiny, as opposed to being your own person and your own business, your own boss. I mean, sure, you have managers, you might have mentors, but still, it really comes down to what you're going to do, what kind of difference you're going to make in the world and how you're going to help other people. And I think that's, listen, that the husband that I married to, move out here, unfortunately got very, very sick. So I lived through that and he didn't make it. And it's been 2 years. And yet every day that is filled with possibilities. And that's why I show up. That's why I show up, because if I don't, I might miss them. I mean, there's really no reason why I shouldn't get it. I should just stay in bed with the covers over my head and watch Netflix or movies all day, which I love, which is how I go to sleep, because it's the only thing that puts me to sleep. But I do, because there are possibilities every day for everyone. And if you don't show up, you're going to miss them, or you might miss them.
That's right. I was going to ask you, how do you stay motivated? But I think you answered that as well, because every day is a new possibility.
I read a very unbelievable book called The Choice, and it was written by a woman by the name of Edith Eva Edgars. And she was from Europe, and she, as a little girl, she was Jewish as I am, and she was put in a concentration camp with her family. She and her sister survived, and another sister was saved and never went to the camps. But everybody else was killed. And she got married, and she ended up coming to the United States. Today, she's 90 some odd years old, young, I should say. She lives in San Diego. She became a psychologist, and she has done more therapy, especially with veterans who have come here, come back with terrible PTSD, because she herself suffered from PTSD. And that book is not a book that for me, I couldn't just sit down and read it, like, cover to cover. I had to read it and walk away and read it. It was very heavy, because it really goes into detail about her childhood and what she lived through, which was horrific. But she said something in it that I tell everybody, and that is that we may not have a choice when it comes to being victimized, but we do have a choice if we want to continue being a victim. And that's why I get up every day.
Life is full of choices, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. That's, so at this point in your life, Phyllis, in your career, you've experienced, you said, Heather, you've experienced both tragedy and triumph, right?
Yeah.
You've had successes, you've had things that you needed to, obstacles that you needed to overcome. What's the goal for you now? What's the dream?
It's on my bucket list.
What's on the bucket list?
Well, first of all, I want to make a difference in the world, in my, whatever that little world is that, that people that come in contact with me. My bucket list is to go to New York when Broadway opens up and be able to see whatever Broadway show I want for as many times as I want. I do want to travel. I really want to go to Ireland and Italy and Spain and Israel. And I really want to go to Russia. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. Actually, the Ukraine, because my grandmother was from there, and I really want to see where she grew up, because I understand it's still pretty old looking, like probably time warp for me. Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to I have 4 daughters. I want to be able to take them to Hawaii or someplace, I want to go to Cancun. I mean, at this point in time, I'm not sure I know what it is like to just relax and vacation, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try it and see. I work really hard. I really do. So it's time for me to play really hard, I think. That's also learn how to do that.
Because look, you're always on a plane, but I know you're always going to do something. It's never to go vacation. Yeah.
Yes.
So for someone who is, thinking about getting into this space, maybe they're listening to this interview, they're hearing about, some of, your journey and your story. And they're thinking maybe this is a space I'll go into, but I don't know, maybe because I don't want to run into a manager like Phyllis had, early on, and, this or that. What advice would you give them about joining this profession in this industry?
Get a license, period, get a license. Yeah. And then that's when the journey really begins. Yeah. Be careful who you work with. If you have a funny feeling or red flag, leave and go to something else, because there are a lot of opportunities out there, a lot. Yes. A ton. And it's not necessary. It is the people. It's not the companies. It is the people. And you've got to surround yourself with positive people, caring people, compassionate people. You'll find them, or call me. I'll help you.
I was gonna say, find people like Phyllis. Speaking of, how do people get in contact with you? How do they keep up with your content online and get into your classes?
So, yep, I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram, Phyllis Shallman. You can go to wealthwave.com/Phyllis Shallman, no dot, just all one, PhyllisShallman.
We'll make sure at the bottom of the screen,
yeah, you're right. You can call me on my cell, always. I mean, I may not answer because sometimes kind of crazy things happen where I've gotten so many, scammy calls that I have like this, robo killer thing. So sometimes it goes to silence if I don't recognize it. But if you text me, I'll always answer. So still have my California number. So
oh no, do you want to put your number out on the
sure.
Let's go.
Sure.
How can we call you, Phyllis?
It's 562-537-6365. And I'm gonna know if you're a scammer. Trust me.
That's it.
I'm gonna know.
He has a BS meter that
yeah,
always on. So
some days they're out in full force and others they are quiet. So
well, look, Phyllis, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure, to speak with you.
Thanks, Rod.
Always a joy. But I'm glad that everyone who is listening to this will have the opportunity to experience the same thing that I get to experience.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. I feel really honored that you asked me. So
absolutely.
Keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Well, look, for those who are listening, you got Phyllis's number. You can call her. She's more than happy to be a great resource for you, and a great resource she will be. And maybe you heard something in this conversation that made you think, maybe I should get a license. Maybe you should. Who knows? Maybe you should.
Who knows?
Until the next time we speak.
Thanks.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.